NNPC laments as unions halt action. That's about the Pengasan story. Some other stories are breaking. It's one day after the 65th anniversary of the Nigerian state. You're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Newspaper Headlines and Analysis on Dominion Television, where we bring the stories that are breaking, developing, and trending across the newspapers across the country, Nigeria. I have the Punch newspaper, Daily Trust newspaper, and many others to go around. Of course, many stories are breaking, many are developing, but we'll check into the major headlines of the day. I'll start with the Punch newspaper this morning to get some punches, maybe not for me, but for the people that are supposed to have it. The Punch newspaper, NNPC laments losses as union halts action. How much loss can you have? That's coming from the Pengasan strike that we've been on for quite a while now, and still detailing that 16% of crude output, 30% of gas supply disrupted during strike. And that's counting the losses, disputes, races and risk, economic stability, and that's coming from the federal government. Pengasan, suspension is not cancellation. We'll strike again if deals fails. Dangote denies victimization or victimizing staff, as it were. So that's also the big story, the big caption on the Punch newspaper this morning. It's all about Pengasan strike. Also, the top corner talks about the 65th Independence Day. Nigeria 65. Tinubu's reforms yet to ease hardship. And that's coming from experts. Also on the Punch newspaper, is this a thing? To get more into that story, page 27 of the Punch newspaper is where to read that. One doctor attends to 9,083 Nigerians. That's coming from NARD. That's a lamentation from them, maybe a book of lamentation of doctors. NARD are complaining about. We've seen this before because many of, at a point, it was also discovered that many doctors would leave the country, Nigeria, for greener pastures, to go to other places. We know, I don't want to mention the names, but we know a lot of this has happened in recent time, and this is already undermining the health sector of this country. So there's a report also from the NAD today on the Punch newspaper that one doctor would need to attend to 9,083 people, Nigerians, and that's not a good thing if you consider the number. But away from that story, 853 billion naira crime proceeds recovered in 1 year. And that's another report from the EFCC this morning, also on the Punch newspaper, the top right hand corner of that particular print. The EFCC is coming out to say we have recovered a proceed that is in the tune of about 853 billion naira. That's a lot of money. Where did it go before? Anyway, I hope this one is used for the betterment or the progression, development of the Nigerian state. Away from that, for Sachs commissioners and others, also something quite topical coming from the Rivers State that used to be a rivers of crisis according to some particular bulletins, but now we have calm. It seems after the storm comes the calm in Rivers State. But again, maybe the calm is not exactly what some people are experiencing, especially the commissioners that Fubara, the governor, has sacked recently. But again, we'll track the story and keep our tabs on that and many other stories as it breaks further. Nigeria's 8-month debt service bill hits 2.86 billion naira. That's coming from the CBN. Also on the Punch newspaper, Nigerian arrested for attempted trafficking of daughter to Iraq. Also on the Punch newspaper, taking other stories also. Daily Global newspaper this morning. Daily Global says we ended fuel subsidies, multiple FX rate to reset Nigeria. Are we really resetting? And that's coming from the President Tinubu on Daily Global, as you can see on your screen. Also, the Dangote refinery dispute, Pengasan suspending strike after federal government intervention is there. And one story that I love to read is you can see the picture of the sporting story. UCL, Martinelli, Saka strike as Arsenal beat Olympiacos 2-0. That's a very good high point for me. Don't ask me why. Anyway, moving on from that story, other stories still breaking on the front pages of the newspaper. Pengasan is there. Pengasan is everywhere. Nigerian Tribune is having Pengasan. Everybody's having Pengasan. But we'll get into the analysis quite shortly when we'll be joined by Lekan, who would help us into some of the stories. We'll unpack the story, but that will be shortly after this short break. Stay with us and don't go nowhere. Thank you for staying tuned to Dominion Television. And now we move on to the analysis segment of the papers. Of course, this morning, so many stories on the dailies this morning. One day after Independence Day, I wish to say Happy Independence Day to you, Lekan Shobowale.
Yes, Happy Independence Day. I know.
Yeah.
We see more of it.
Perhaps we should start with how did your day go? Yeah, there was no celebration by the president, according to the or did you have your personal celebration?
No. We were, we were at some events, a non-governmental organization organized an independence lecture. So I was invited, and of course, we do justice to the topics. We all believe that Nigeria, we are developing and we are going, and we surely overcome any of these are present difficulties.
Let me quickly throw this at you now. You said we are developing. How long does it take to develop? Singapore got their independence in 1957, just 3 years short of, before Nigeria got theirs. Singapore is a better country now.
It takes years to develop, years. But I cannot, I don't want to be specific, but I don't know. But I know it takes a lot of, times, years to develop. And, it boils down on the type of leadership. Nigeria, we have all that it takes for us to have developed, even before now, even beyond this level. But, we've had, various hindrances, various difficulties. You cannot just imagine if, in 1960 we got our independence, and Nigeria has been moving since then, but we had few hiccups, talking about military coup, 1966, coming in of military as head of state, all these things, they are barriers to democratic governance, During the time of the late siege of Afemi Awolowo, we had free education in the Southwest, you understand, We have regional governments, and especially in the Southwest, at that time we were developing rapidly. Our growth then, was consistent. But, lo and behold, the military came again, the likes of former late President Buhari, the likes of Babangida, the likes of Abacha. You cannot just imagine what Nigerians went through during the time of former head of state, Ibrahim Babangida, and that of General Sani Abacha. There is no way a nation can develop, you understand, with what the country went through at those periods. This, especially the time of General Sani Abacha, these were dark days of this country. So it's just as if, when we were, by the time we were having a smooth republic, you understand, and military now came in, it automatically is a disruption. So, you go back and start counting again. And that's what has been happening to Nigeria. So now we are now counting again from 1999, because all this Singapore, Malaysia that you're talking about, there is nothing like a military government. You understand? And even where there is a military government, they have been so consistent. It is not as if military will come today, they will hand over to civilian government, they will come back again. So the more they come, the more they take us back. They have to suspend all the constitution, they have to suspend introduce the clear. So all these things, they set a nation back. So for me, it's just as if we are now counting all over again. We are just starting from 1999. My prayer is that this present dispensation should not be disrupted. That is just my prayer.
All right. Your point is gotten now. Let me just ask again, very quickly, before we move over to the Pengasan issue. Now, the president spoke to the issue of, he spoke to diversification as a thing, he spoke to education, he spoke to the youth, he spoke to a lot of issues in the country. Things, yes. But again, if you also check one of the things he said, it was as though the president was comparing from now to 1960. It was dating back to say that we have access to education, to better education now than we used to. But if you consider also the population then and now, you see it will not carry so much weight. But then I want to know, how well do you agree with the president's statement, everything together yesterday on every of the reforms he said they're having and some of the projections that he also gave us yesterday? So how well, let's scale it on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you buy into the president's promise?
Yes, just like you have said, projections. Most of the things that the president said yesterday, they were projections. In the real sense of it, they were projections. I know, government officials, most of the things everything that the president read yesterday was written for him by government officials. You understand? These people, they used projections. They talked futuristic. They used data. You understand? But the truth of the matter is that yes, Nigeria is developing, Nigeria is progressing, like I've said a few minutes ago. But the reality of it, Anu, is that things are not still at the level they should. As we speak, there is hunger in the land. You know, many families are facing serious poverty. I don't want to call it abject poverty. You understand? So some woke up this morning, they don't know where their breakfast will come from. Not to even talk of lunch, not even dinner. You understand? There are issues. You know, in some parts of the country, they cannot just go out. They don't have free movement because of insecurity. These administrations, they are trying their best. You know, subsidy has been removed. Our governors are having more money now. But what I keep telling people is that if our governor, if they're having more money, you can see most of the governors, you know, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I think 2 or 3 days ago, you know, was at Imo State, you know, to commission some projects. Most of these governors, they are embarking on capital projects. But the number one capital project is the people. How much are you taking care of the people? When you are taking care of your people, when they are not hungry, you know, you cannot be constructing roads, you cannot be building infrastructure, you cannot be rehabilitating airports for 45 billion naira, you cannot be embarking on circular road projects with billions of naira when your people, when they are hungry. You know, if you want to rehabilitate, you know, an airport, for who? For who? You know, airports, you know, most of our governors, they are running a kind of elitist government for elites. That is what they are running, because if you put 45 billion naira and you said you are telling us you want to go and repair airports for 45 billion naira, how many of your citizens, how many of your residents will make use of that airport?
Oh, sorry. Let's put it straight now. Do you mean that the president's speech is dissociated from the reality of the Nigerian state?
See, president is just one out of all these people that we are talking about.
But let's talk about his speech yesterday.
See, let me tell you, president believes that he has done justice to the states. You know, president was speaking as a president. President has delegated power to states. You know, Tinubu was saying that now we have more money, now our economy is improving. Yes, there is more money.
And you agree with that?
Very well. Before this administration came on board, we have like 20, 21, 22 states that cannot pay salaries. But governors are now paying salaries. Governors are now embarking on projects. But what I'm saying is that there is nothing like federal government. Aside from the people that live in Abuja, even those that live in Abuja, they have Nyesom Wike as their minister of FCT. So president is president of Nigeria. And you have the president, you have the governors, you have the local government chairman. The truth of the matter is that most of our governors, they are not interpreting the policies of the president very well. How will you interpret the policy of the president? When president is, before now you are getting 6 billion, 7 billion naira as your monthly allocation. Now you are getting 20, 25 billion naira as your monthly allocation. If you want to interpret the policies of the president, you have to take care of your people. Do things that will make your people happy. Empower your people in your state. In our state, we are talking about, you know, rehabilitating the government house for 63 billion. It is not necessary. Who are those people that we, even the present governor is not living in government house?
So that's a wrong thing from you.
It is. Let us take care. Our governors, all our governors, they should think of the people. They should not be thinking of minority. How many people will be living in government house? How many people will go into Alake Airport? You understand? Roads are good, but do things that will affect me as an ordinary resident of Oyo State. Do things that will affect an ordinary resident of Kano State, of Imo State, of Abia State. That is what we are talking about. President believes that because he's now giving them money, things have improved. No.
But sorry to cut you short. Alakia would affect you positively because when you want to go for your NDJ meetings in Abuja, you don't have to fly to Lagos.
But
you don't have to drive to Lagos.
How many people will go to Alakia Airport?
I mean, a good number of people.
Very few people.
No, a good number of people would eventually travel from that.
See, let me tell you, if in your state we have 100 people, I can tell you maybe 15 will go to Alakia Airport because they don't have business. Okay, now I can only go to Alakia Airport when I'm going to Abuja, or when I'm going to Port Harcourt, or when I'm going to Kano.
Remember, it's an international airway.
I know. Before an airport can become an international airport, so many things will be done. Yes, Alakia Airport is an international airport in the nearest future, not now, because the facilities, it is not only the responsibility of the state government. The federal government will also be involved.
Of course, they are involved.
Now yes, they are involved, but you are talking about in the nearest future, international airport, not now. Now they have opened Alakia Airport. Can you go to Alakia Airport? Can you go to UK from Alakia Airport now?
Maybe it's a work in progress.
That is what I'm saying.
So
let us take care of the people now.
How do you mean when you say take care of the people?
See, policies that will impact directly on the lives of the people. If Oyo State is paying 80,000 naira minimum wage, and Oyo State is getting good money from Abuja now, why can't you? We have Imo State paying 104,000 naira.
Oyo State is paying 80.
That's what I'm saying.
Some states are still struggling to pay 70.
All the states, no state is struggling. No. All the states, they have more money now. You cannot be struggling now.
Some governors came out to say it's not possible for them.
See, let me tell you, sometimes, politicians used to politicize so many things. But it is very obvious, even to the deaf, even to the blind, that most of our governors now, they are being given good money from Abuja. They are sharing.
The allocation has increased.
We are seeing it on the pages of the newspapers. Alakia Airport, we now have a airport at Iperuremo, very close to Alakia Airport. So, my concern, if I cannot fly from Ibadan, if I cannot fly from Ogun State, Lagos is just.
But Lagos to Ibadan road is always busy. But let's drive away from that to talk about Pengasan.
Our governors.
Okay. No, you have to do the job.
That they should empower our people.
Okay. That's a good way to continue the conversation. Now, Pengasan suspends strike action after federal government intervention. But they mentioned something. Now, this is the but. They vowed to resume strike without notice if their demands were not met. And strike suspension is out of respect to government. At the meeting, it was at some point a stalemate, and then it went from that to a closed-door session. We understand that the Minister of Labour, Wale Adjumma, and a lot of persons, of course, were at the meeting. It was quite an extensive one. We were waiting for what was going to happen, the eventuality, but eventually they went into a closed-door session to say, okay, so let's have it now. Now, one of the concerns, according to Festus Osifo, also the national president of Pengasan, was saying that they would not back down on the strike action if federal government would not reinstate those, if Dangote refinery, would not reinstate those people that were laid off. And that seems to be like a thing. They said, okay, we'll go back. And for Wale was speaking for the government, he said, okay, they're trying to see how we can amend the whole situation. But it seems like the conversation continues right now. Pengasan has suspended their strike action after federal government intervention. But they said they will resume shortly if their demands were not met. What do you think, from the look of things, from your projections, what do you think is going to happen come the next few days? Is there going to be another strike action? Well,
for me, I listened very well to Yusuf yesterday, or early this morning, and from what he had said, I don't think this problem is over yet. The man said, out of almost 10 points that the man made, 9 of those points, he said they never believed in Dangote refinery to keep to their promise, to keep to the MOU signed. He said it. He said so many things. And the summary of everything that the man said was that he never trusted Dangote that he's going to fulfill his own part of the deal. But the only condition that made them to suspend that election, that strike, just because of the confidence they have in the federal government, just to show that they are also patriotic Nigerians. That is all. That he said so many things that Dangote, that Dangote will not do this, Dangote will not do that, Dangote will not do this, Dangote will not do that. But in all, just to convince the federal government that they have no ulterior motives, no political party or no politicians is using them. You understand that is why they suspended the strike. Left to them with Dangote refinery, they are not going to suspend it. That is what the man said. So I think this problem is still very far from over. But just like the man has said, he said they want to prove that they are patriotic Nigerians. When we just appeal to them, because the NNPC GMD, Bayo Julari, lamented seriously yesterday. He highlighted so many things that Nigerians lost within the last 3 days. He talks about gas, he talks about millions of barrels of crude oil, he talks about, so many things. They wrote to the National Security Advisor, they wrote to the Director General, DSS, lamenting about the loss. You understand? So now we are saying that Nigeria is progressing, we are saying that Nigeria is moving. We should not be talking about loss in Nigeria now. As a matter of fact, loss that can be avoided, loss that we can be adequately taken care of, because we can avert strike. We can avert down tools by Nupeng, by Penkasan. We can avert all those things. So, be it Dangote, the federal government, the Penkasan, the Nupeng, whatever they need to do, they should do it. They should, consider, the interest of the nation above all other interests. Dangote is saying his own. The Penkasan, they are also making their own point. But the truth of the matter is that things should, we thank God that we are no longer experiencing queues. I cannot remember the last time I queued in any petrol station now. Yes, we're happy. These are dividends of democratic growth. This shows that Nigerians, Nigeria is...
But right after, right after that announcement was made about the strike, there were promise of queues. No, not promise. We saw clips of videos across the country where some states already went into panic buying, and then some, petrol stations had to shut down.
I know that is artificial issue. It is artificial.
So
there is no, before now, the moment all these are filling stations, the moment they hear that there is a strike, and the moment what they do is they just close down their petrol station. But in Ibadan, there was nothing like that.
All right.
You buy your fuel, you go.
Okay, let's talk about another issue now. We would not speak to the charges, but we'll speak because it's still in court now. Nnamdi Kanu is in the news again today. He says, I'm in danger of sudden death. Let's speak on the human rights angle of this particular story, because we cannot talk about the charges, litigation, all of those things against him. But let's talk about, I am in danger of sudden death. Nnamdi Kanu lists ailments in DSS custody. What exactly should the DSS do?
See, I don't know.
Give advice to DSS.
See, I don't know. But see, all what I know is that Nnamdi Kanu issue should be resolved politically.
How do you mean?
See, Nnamdi Kanu, forget about all these trump-up charges, all this terrorism, all these. Nnamdi, look at Simon Ekpa, that guy that was sentenced at Finland by a Finnish government. That is how to do things. Federal government is taking its time. Some governors in the eastern part of the country, they are talking to the federal government. Federal government should just make up its mind what you want to do about the issue of, what's the name? Kanu.
Nnamdi Kanu.
If you want to release him and let him go. You cannot just keep him perpetually in DSS custody. It is not right. You understand?
Yeah.
It's just a case between the federal government, and this man and this gentleman, Kanu. So whatever they want to do about Kanu, federal government should even be tired by now. Going to court, if you want to release Kanu, people are appealing to federal government, governors from the eastern part of the country, leaders from the eastern region of the country, they are appealing to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. See, we have Sunday Igboho, our brother, working freely as a free man,
So you want them to release him?
Call this man, talk to him, give him conditions. You understand that, if you are in US, if Kanu, you cannot be doing all these things in the United States. If we are going to release you, and if we release you, and if anything, you know, of the past comes up again, then consider yourself gone. So if they should just, you know,
that should be the approach.
They just forget about these courts every day. It's political, you know, because Kanu, all of us were in this country during the NSAS protest, where we have the alleged voice of Nnamdi Kanu directing the IPOB guys to go and burn down TBC, to go and burn down the nation, to go and burn down properties of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now Tinubu is there. So how do you think he will be so happy to let this one go? You understand? So it is better for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to call all those distant stakeholders, call them, tell them to talk to this man, let him go. And anything after that, then you should just do justice to him. Forget about this issue of court cases. It's taking our time.
And thank you very much this morning, Lekan Shobowale, Public Affairs Analyst and the journalist. Thank you for joining us and giving out your take on the issues of the current state, Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you very much, Nigerians. Of course, we have to move on to the next segment. Coming up next is the big story with Samson. Of course, something quite important, politics and governance. You know, the way forward, lessons learned from 65 years of independence for the Nigerian state. Stay with us, and after this break, we'll come back with the big story coming on board.